Welcome back to Straight Facts. It's Monday morning, an epic weekend of Premier League football. We all got to enjoy some crazy shock defeats, another loss for Manchester United, Arsenal stun Newcastle, Liverpool finally lose, the Wolves raid the hen house at Tottenham Hotspur. Funnily enough, my son saw your badge yesterday. He was doing thumbnails on Saturday, and he went, I mean, no word of a lie. He said, "Daddy, why is there a chicken playing football?" I did think that was funny because of all the jokes. But we're delving into all of that. Plus, is Xavi on his way to Manchester United? Is Amorim done? Is he gone from United after another defeat this weekend? We're jumping into all of that live this morning on the Football Terrace, but get the like button hit. Make sure you are subscribing. Get that bell notification button turned on as well. Big up to everyone who's joined us from the United stand as well. Really do appreciate that massively. But get liking, get subscribing, and get this shared across your social media platforms as well. And look, there's loads of places we can start, but I want to start with United. I'll be honest with you, boys. I want to get it out of the way. I want to get it done, okay? I don't want to have to think about talking about it later. But I'll go to Jords first. Obviously, KJ and I spoke on Saturday, but United lose again. And I think maybe for the first time this season, looks absolutely flaccid and just impotent, so poor throughout the majority of the 90 minutes. No real tactical changes to change things up. A big penalty missed as well. But overall, a bad performance as well as a bad result. Do you think that is the end of Ruben Amorim?
Do you know what? It's tough because we've spoken many times, innit? And on this show, I've said, you got to give a manager a little bit of time to see if he can figure it out. And because at the start of the season, I was like, do you know what? Let him get to that. If he's not done anything by the second international break, he has to go. The second international break's next week. He should be sacked today. What has been shown is Graham Potter is sacked. I'm pretty sure Graham Potter was hired after Amorim, and he's sacked before Amorim. They've had pretty much very similar tenures in the time at the clubs, and West Ham have actually gone out there and shown that they have standards. They're willing to make that choice. They've sacked two managers, since Amorim's come in. So that shows their standards. Amorim should definitely be sacked. There's no way around it. I would like to sit here and do the rival thing of let's keep him in for as long as possible, let's just keep going. Let's keep giving him a point. Because that win against Chelsea brought him time. And I was like, oh, this is nice. Especially because it was against Chelsea as well. But I'll be honest, watching you guys are dreadful, man. It's the same problems every week. There's no improvement. He played Maguire at the back with a high line, which we know doesn't work, but he still keeps pushing the line so high. Losing to a Brentford team, which, as we know, that they had their whole management team stripped apart this season. They had all their best players taken away and still look very competent at football. They play some really good football. They're breaking teams down, and they know how to make it work. Amorim has no excuse. There's been so many managers that have come in since he has now and have looked better than him. He has no excuse. You have good players. You need to be able to make it work with the players. You need to be able to coach. He hasn't shown any of that ability. On that game in particular, yeah, I saw Terry's tweets. You may have been unfortunate for that he didn't get a red card. Nathan Collins was a little bit unfortunate. It should have been a red. Yeah. But ultimately, you can't hang on. Oh, it should have been a red to not.
No, I agree.
Those ones,
I agree. In my Mac reaction, I agree with you on that, George. I'll just say that should have been a red card for me. We should have scored the penalty. I heard Mark Goldbridge say something this morning. I was listening to his show, and it's because there is a lack of balance in the Man United fan base, but I understand why we're angry. And I think by and large, there'll be someone that's balanced, there'll be someone that's very imbalanced, but overall, it is an imbalance because we're frustrated and we're angry, and we could have equalised, maybe gone on to win if the correct decision happened. But what I'm not going to do is ignore the performance. I'm going to stay consistent because when we played Fulham away, I felt we had ample chances to be 1-2, 3-0 up, and I think we would have seen the game out. I was happy with large elements of the performance. The Arsenal game, we lost. I actually would have been happier after the Arsenal defeat in terms of performance than if we'd have beaten Brentford after a penalty and a red card, because the performance is where the consistency is going to come from. And this weekend was absolutely dreadful. And I think the most damning element is it comes after a very good victory, as in nobody expected us to beat Chelsea. You get the victory, play well in the. If we can't really judge the game because it was abnormal with the early red card and then Casemiro going off, but we saw it through. Can the manager, can the team, can the players come together, put in another good performance, get a win, and start to build momentum? And the manager's performance was dreadful. Every player, like maybe barring Šeško, he gets a goal, and maybe a sub whose name I'm forgetting, but no one really deserves any credit from the game. Those players look like rabbits in headlights or a deer in headlights, whichever expression. Both of those animals look shit scared in headlights. It doesn't matter which one. For me, I think there was a massive turning point this weekend for a lot of people that just said, oh, I got texts from United fans that are really behind the manager, and they just went, oh, I'm gutted. I think he's got to go. And I've been on that train for a while now that I think it may be right for him to move on. I've lost faith. The saddening part is we're linked to Xavi today, KJ. And on paper, that sounds exciting. I don't know about you.
Is it? I don't know.
I saw that from Ben Jacobs, didn't I?
It was paper. Someone says exciting. For me, I like Xavi. I think he's a good manager. I love what Grafton's doing at Palace. I love what Areola is doing at Bournemouth. But you know what's crazy? I have zero excitement, but I have zero excitement. I have zero faith now. I feel so depleted that that's going to work either. We may get better at playing football. We may win a few more games, but to what end? I feel so broken and defeated right now. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, George was just waiting you to say the magic waistcoat to come in and take over. You know, that's what you really want.
No,
you know what I'm saying with Southgate. But yeah, look, Xavi, I need to look into. I've been trying to look into more about how he plays because, if I'm honest, after that Grimsby game, I was like, yeah, nah, this ain't gonna happen, man. This ain't working. This ain't gonna work out. If you lose to Grimsby in that fashion, I know people say, oh, the players shouldn't need a coach, but we have a coach. You know what I mean? And he didn't do enough to win that game. And the way that we lost to them, I was like, yeah, this ain't gonna work. So I've been starting to look at managers, how they play, just like, okay, cool. Like if we were to change, what it would look like. Xavi is the one that I look at. I'm just like, I don't understand what happened with him. So I'm trying to look in deeper with. He won Barcelona the league. The next season, boom, he's now.
It wasn't it was never a football problem. It was more.
Yeah, well, I know. It's like in terms of like behind the scenes, it was like like there's stuff going on behind the scenes with them. But I've seen Barca fans and other fans of other clubs say like he's crap, he's washed, he's the Spanish Ollie. So I was like, okay, what is actually going on? So here's someone that I'm trying to figure out more. But even if he comes in, cool, innit? Like it's one of those ones for me. It's like, why do we want Xavi? What it is about Xavi that we like? Because we hired Amorim the wrong way. We really should have said to ourselves, how do we want to play? Set that, and then go get a manager. We brought Amorim in, hoping for him to bring his style, and then be like, this is how we're going to play moving forward, because it's like unique and brilliant. And we haven't actually really planned for it to actually work. If you know this manager needs a highly athletic midfield, if you know he needs highly competent wing-backs, if you know he needs 3 centre-backs who are all athletic, all can play on a high line, all can play in wide spaces and 1v1 defend, why have the club not got that? So it either shows to me two things. That could be as well. It shows me one thing, or one of two things. Either Ineos are bad at recruiting for anyone, or they don't actually believe in this manager to actually recruit for what he needs, and they actually want to have a club plan. If you're having a club plan, this can't be it. Losing all these games can't be it. So yeah, cool. Get Xavi in, but why do we want Xavi? You know, what is about it that he wants to that we want from him to play? And if he's got the things that we want as a club, then make sure we actually provide for him. Someone said something to me a few weeks ago. His name is James, but he also goes by the Green Devil on Twitter. He said to me, Man United have always had an identity. We've always had an identity. The high winger, the high flying wingers, the breakaways, the transitions, the passion and do what it takes to win. That was United's identity. We've overcomplicated it we've lost our way, and we're searching so far and wide for this new style, this new way of playing, when we've had a blueprint for years, using like literally our motto is youth, courage, success. We're literally losing all of those because we don't see youth players play anymore. The team has no courage, and we definitely don't have any success. So it's one of those ones where, as a club, and looking at us now, it's like, what are we doing to actually bring ourselves back? Because it can't be this. The manager looks lost.
No, and listen, I think you put on some really good things there. This is why I worry. Listen. A manager comes in. I'm always an optimist when it comes to my football club. I'm not going to change that. You can call me a top red. You can say my football knowledge is bad. I'm not going to live in a world where I'll do the same this weekend. We'll be walking out onto the pitch against Sunderland, and this part that the Man United fan, the Man United fan part of me that loves football, the football fan of me will go, oh, I'm dreading this. The Man United fans, oh, come on, we could play well today, we could win, because I want to be able to celebrate it. I'm never going to change that. So if Xavi comes in, I'll say, come on, let's see what you can do. If it's Oliver Glasner, I'll be behind him because I want him to be successful. Always. Even players we sign that I don't rate, I don't want them to foul so I can say, I've got better ball knowledge. Equally, I want to address the people that think, well, I'm not turning on Amorim ever because I'm a better fan than you. Both groups of those people are just toxic individuals. We all get things right. We all get things wrong at the end of the day. You know, some will say, Terry, you thought Amorim could work. Yeah, I did. But the reason that he's fouled are also the reasons that I warned you all about every time we've sacked a manager. So I'm wrong that Amorim hasn't worked, but I did tell you if we didn't fix certain things, and a lot of that is the squad, we'd lose. And I want to give you guys an example of why we can't just get carried away. I want to show you these stats. This was Ten Hag's away record against teams in the top half of the table for a large part of his first season at the club, if that makes sense. His win percentage, okay, when you look from sort of the back end of last season up until when he got sacked, dropped down to the 30% margin. Ruben Amorim has not improved this team, and I think trying to play his style of football with this very average squad has made us worse. Amorim hasn't adapted at all, and I don't mean throw your philosophy away. Even at the weekend, he should have just, when he took defenders off for attackers, changed the shape. Don't start sticking Mason Mount on the left wing. That's on the manager. He has made us worse. I've said it. It's there. But let us not pretend that we have not been spiraling and that these records haven't been bad for a long time. So for me, it's this case of tempering ourselves. If Xavi comes in, if Areola comes in, will we get better? There's a big chance we do. But to what end? This squad is not technically gifted enough or athletic enough to play either of their styles to the nth degree, and it will take time to build that squad. We also don't have centre-backs that can play well in a two, maybe barring Euro. We have very poor fullback defensively, barring Maz. That will all be exposed more with four at the back. And we don't have a single left winger at the club anymore because we sold them for this system, which is why my faith is being tested. And on Oliver Glasner, I saw someone put his formation up at the weekend. And do you know what they said? Why is it that Ruben can't make it work when Oliver Glasner is? This is the thing. This is a real basic answer. If you look at forget the technical ability, because Palace have a lot of players that are technically excellent and have done. Gahey's brilliant. Wharton's brilliant, to name two. But if you look, and KJ, I'm going to present those two words with the word "and" in between for you to present.
Know what? I'll say it for you.
Go on.
Pace and power. There we go.
Well, the way you don't get cancelled saying it is strength and athleticism. It kind of gets you. You get away because it sounds better, doesn't it? But that team has it across the board. So again, go and get Glasner. Great. We're going to stay with the formation. Just a better Premier League proven manager. I think we get better. This is why I'm not excited about any of it. It has nothing to do with, oh, my poor Ruben got sacked. It's nothing about that. It's our squad is still average, which is why when people go, yeah, but you've been praising up the XG. I'm like, you're missing the point. I haven't been praising the XG because that makes me feel good. It's about showing we've had great chances to score, but these players haven't been good enough. Because what's going to end up happening, you're going to get a manager you like, you might improve a little bit, the same player issues will happen, and I've got an horrible feeling what we'll do again is go, oh, this manager's a fraud, you know. Manager's a fraud. can only win 50% of his games. So look, as I say, Amorim has got to go now for me. That I don't believe he's going to turn this round. I just don't see it happening for love nor money. My biggest focus now is the ownership, in the sense of how long are they going to let this drag on? Who's going to be the replacement? What direction are we going in as a football club? Because that's where I'm really fearful. I think a more middle of the road manager who lowers our expectations is best for us in the longer run. Just my opinion. I wish Thomas Frank was still available, and I mean that with all due respect. I think it's fantastic, but yeah, it's disaster right now at the club.
Why should we listen to you, Terence? Why should we listen to you? Because I swear, you know what, guys? I think I need to come out. I need to come out and expose this. What's happened. All
right. It's coming out.
I've been indoctrinating people.
I want the world to know. Well, anyway, sorry, back to you.
I've been indoctrinating
I'm
people.
bookmarking this as KJ coming out. Go on then.
I've been indoctrinated people. I think I've been around this Terry guy for too long. Yeah. Because the way he speaks about Man United, the way he views it, is it ever right, people? Jords, is he ever right about Man United and what their solutions are, what we need to do, his opinions of the squad and the manager? Maybe Terry's wrong. Maybe the squad isn't average. How about that? You know, what if the squad's actually good? But Lord Terry over here,
I think the squad is no. That's the thing I was gonna say.
What we doing here, Terry? Why should we listen to you, my friend? Because everything you say about Man United, quote unquote, from other people is wrong.
Well, I get accused a lot of that, but I stand on it and say I'm not wrong. So when you say it's good, like if we had a manager making it play at its optimum best, where do you think it would finish?
8th, maybe.
So again, okay. So yeah, I think a team that finishes 8th is average to slightly above average. So just so we understand where we're at, I agree. I think a Xavi, I think an Oliver Glasner, I think Iriola, I think a manager who a manager that is good enough could get us to that level. I absolutely agree. What I look at is that people that would be satisfied for a short period of time would then start becoming unsatisfied when we're 8th and 7th and maybe 6th, because I don't know if they I think they overestimate the squad and think we should be a lot higher than that. So yeah, I think that's where we are squad-wise.
You know what it is? I feel like, because I'm seeing this in my own team at the moment. When you play for a manager and you watch a team under a manager just not improve for such a long time, you start to think of a lot of these players being really shit. That's what it is. A lot of these players now look terrible. People think Bruno's not a good footballer when he's quite literally still one of the most creative players in the Premier League. But it's how they're being used under this manager and under this system. Yeah. I think there's been a lot of gaping holes and problems that everybody can see for a long time, for the past 6 months, that Amorim just hasn't addressed. And that's what he is. He's dying on his own sword right now, because still he's starting the same team, you know, Bruno in the 8, going with a 2-man midfield. And when you talk about some of the technical ability, I could see that technical ability of the midfield improving massively if you just done 𝗕𝗥𝗘𝗔𝗞𝗜𝗚 with, let's just say, Mount and Mainu in there. So you've now got a proper 3 that could work together. It might not be the perfect 3, but it would be better than the 2 that are playing, and it would definitely give yourself a lot more balance with regards to you got Mount, who's going to be the legs of the midfield. He's going to run around. You got Kobe, who's technical ability and probably could not be the 10, but he could be a bit more creative when going forward. And you got 𝗕𝗥𝗘𝗔𝗞𝗜𝗚 to sit. It's like simple solutions within the squad that you have there that Amorim's just overcomplicating. Because like you said, when he's making these subs, he's subbing these players and you're not changing saying, okay, look, we're going to now change the system a little and he's just bringing them on and saying, yeah, Mason Mount, you go on the left.
Michael Richards went through on Match of the Day. He went through every sub that we made and all the positions that was changed. You had basically, you can see like a giant circle of everyone rotating their position. And he's kind of like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Mason Mount went from right or left-sided 10 to flipping left wing back within the space of 10 minutes.
Yeah. Ian here says, you might be right, KJ. You may have been around Terry for too long. Lately, your football takes are actually being good, so your football knowledge is clearly getting better. Thanks, Ian, bro. I appreciate it. Obviously, me and KJ are messing, and me and KJ disagree on a lot of things. We just do what adults do, and we talk it through, and we find common ground. And of course, I get loads wrong. We all do. I get more. I think I get more right about rival clubs than I get about my own club. But I think that's easier because you're not emotional. When you're emotional, your thought process is different. But it's little things like Rashford doing well. I'm not surprised because Rashford was never a bad player and Rashford was never the problem. It wasn't even that him and Amorim had an issue mainly. Rashford for years has been spiraling away relationship-wise with the club. The problem is with Man United, we don't act soon enough on these things. Hindsight, I know he had that great run in 22 going into 23 under Ten Hag. But actually, an old clip come up from mine the other day where he'd gone for a bad time and wanted a new deal. And I said, well, he's got to prove himself. Maybe have a good year and then get a new deal. And I wasn't, you could say I was right. Oh, he played well, he got a new deal. I actually look back and I've learned from it. No, we still shouldn't have given him that new deal because he got the new deal and then the levels dropped off. Now, I'm not saying he down tools. It's just culturally, it doesn't work for us to behave that way. As soon as a player starts thinking about leaving, we should just move them on because it never really ends well. Oh, okay, I'll have a new deal and you can stay. You look at like Salah and Van Dijk. Yes, they wanted good money from Liverpool, but neither were pushing to leave. Does that make sense? They weren't flirting with other clubs per se. They kept on saying publicly, I want to stay here. There's a difference between I want to stay here versus, well, I'm looking elsewhere if you don't want to give me what I want. There's a different mentality in that. So it's never about the one thing. And that's also why I think we need a middle of the road manager before we move on to another subject. And I think there is this is a theory here. Okay. I think there's a possibility that Southgate, the longer term, is a better option now than Areola or Xavi. And the reason that I say that is listen, let me be very, very clear on this because of the way people's brains work. They are much better managers than Gareth Southgate. But I think we, the fans, and I'm going to put us all into one big box for a moment, just as a collective, so nobody gets offended. We are the problem in this to a degree. Say we get Xavi because of who he is, or we get Areola because of how well Bournemouth are doing, or Clark, or Oliver. There is going to be this, now we're cooking. That you all know the YouTubers, the TikTokers, the Twitter accounts, the group chats. Let's go, we're back. There may be a bounce. There may be, oh my God, we won 2 games in a row. We will get excited. Oh, these managers are exciting. They're fresh. You know, the hipsters love them. I'm guilty of this in the past. Oh, the video, this is how we could get back. This is what we can do. Oh, the lineups. Oh, when we get Belieber, when we get Wharton. Oh, let's go get Mateo. You know what's coming. And we do this. But then reality hits. The only difference with Ruben, we did all that. We never got the bounce and the improvement. So people turn quicker. But I mean, that may happen again. That's part of me. The sort of, there is an element of me that's like, they'd be kind of funny to watch from a social experiment perspective. But let's say we get the bounce this time. But then reality is going to hit like all the previous times. This squad, as you boys have both pointed out, I say average. You guys say 8th place. I think that's about the same thing, give or take. We will level out. Like a pint of Guinness, eventually it will level out and it'll look normal. And then the manager will start to lose games because teams will figure us out a little bit tactically because that's other good coaches in the league. That's when you need a better squad to get you through. That's it at the end of the day. The reason why Man City won so many league titles, the reason why Liverpool was so good last year is some games they were nullified tactically because other teams are good, but they just have that player, this player, that player, moments of brilliance. And we need more of that. Will that fan base that got excited go, okay, well, I can stay the course here and stay relaxed? Or will they start to go, we've been defrauded. We've been defrauded. And then what happens is the media jumps on, the media pressure mounts, and this group of players capitulates as soon as there is too much expectation. So my thing about a Southgate is I don't think he's a better manager. But if you remove all expectation, we'll go, we are fucked. That lack of expectation might give us a birthing ground to grow from, so we become a bit stronger. So when the expectation does rise, we're able to handle it a little bit better. It's only a theory, just because the amount of times we've got gassed, LVG, Jose, Oli after a few months, Ten Hag and Amorim are great examples. Even rivals were like, fuck's sake, United got them. And look how they both ended. There's just this theory in my mind of maybe if we went the other way. But yeah, aside from that, like I say, the only reason I'm thinking that way is I don't have any real faith this is going to turn around now. So
yeah, my thing is this: like, we have so many players that have been here. Like, one of the things that I know Mark says, and a lot of people say, like, these are the same players that have seen 5 managers sacked. That's not true, because the only player that's seen as many managers sacked as that is Luke Shaw. Then the next one is like Maguire and Bruno, unlike 3 or something like that. So That by the by, some players have been here for too long. They've shown us what they are. We don't need to see them anymore. Here's what I would do. You see the likes of Maguire, Shaw, Dallo, man, them that players have been here for too long. I'll be like, listen, I'm not gonna do you. I'm not gonna do you dirty and put you in a bomb squad. But I will. I'm just gonna let you know, you guys ain't playing. The only way you'll play is really desperate with injuries. Otherwise, you're not playing.
Didn't you do that with Maguire already? And then he worked his way back into the team.
Yeah, but this is the thing. This is the thing that can't happen again. No matter how good he plays, you gotta say bye bye. This is what I'll do. Then, in terms of then you work with the likes of Mainu, Ahmad, Yoro, the younger guys and the guys we've just bought. Work with them. Promote some more academy players like the Kones, like maybe your Obies if his attitude's improved, Shea Lacey, stuff like that. Bring them into the fold and be like, right, we are working with you guys. We're going to play this kind of way. Then, I'm not going to lie, you're going to laugh at me, but I don't care. We're that bad, anything goes, right? If Terry wants Southgate, I'm allowed what I want. Bring in Carrick with Ollie as assistant, with...
Hang on a minute, he's calling me out for always being wrong, and he wants to bring back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
No, as assistant, bro. As assistant, like let him be the because we're talking about. Listen, people are saying the culture of Man United is a problem. We need someone to put the arm around the players, right? Who was the best person to do that previously? Is Ollie, right? Bring him back for do all of that foolishness. And Carrick's got a tactical mind. If we're saying Southgate is okay,
I wouldn't be against. I wouldn't be against Carrick as an interim. To be fair, but on this, one thing I'm going to say, because I want to move on to some other subjects. Good time is one thing that Barcelona did when they had their struggles and they were rebuilt. They didn't have to rebuild to the same degree as United because they'd only been in trouble for a couple of years. But the one thing that Xavi and Cruyff did brilliantly, that is Jordi Cruyff, people, not Johan, is they promoted the academy players. We had a lot of young academy players. Harry Hamas is an example. Really talented players. And even under Ruben, I thought he'd play more because he played a lot of young players at Sporting. They get half a chance and then they barely kick a ball again. And that's where I think we've made the mistake. We've gone back to giving the lows and look, United fans fight each other. Oh, now you backed Ugarte. Yeah, but you backed the low. Oh, you backed Hoyland, yeah, but you back Sancho. Like it was weird games we're playing where we're not focused on our club. It's like listening to children. But what we really should have probably done is gone, you know what, Maguire, you got no place here. We're going to give a kid from the academy a chance and give him games. Like the fact that Aiden Heaven has barely kicked a ball this season after looking so brilliant when he came in unexpectedly last year. That is a way that we also help to fix the club. But there we go. Viewers, listen, we want your thoughts. We want your opinions in the comments section below. Hit like and share. I want to talk Chelsea for a moment before we move on to the title race talk of the weekend. But Jords, that crisis kind of continued again this weekend. And I know you're in the same group chats that I'm in, but a lot of the Chelsea fans that we speak to, and I'm not speaking for all Chelsea fans, but they're just sort of like, yeah, moments of madness. It'll be okay. We're still okay. But no win outside of beating a League One team in the last 4. Massive defensive errors again, leading to a red card, Stonewall red card. Once they go down to 10 men, I know that Don doesn't think this is right, but I've never seen a top team look so bad with 10 men on the pitch. As in, they are so open and easy to break down. It's unbelievable. But they are slipping. I mean, look, United have been awful. We deserve all the smoke we're getting. But for a team that were world champions and spoken about as potential title contenders at the start of the season, this is genuinely a crisis start to the campaign, is it not?
Yeah, it's been an awful start to the campaign, if we're being totally honest. If you even go back to the first game, obviously the Crystal Palace one, they should have lost. It was wrongly counted out by, that stupid free kick rule that come into play. The West Ham game, cool, look, you beat West Ham. It was always going to happen. But then the Fulham ones, you looked at and you said, oh, got away with it there. A couple set-piece goals, couple lucky decisions. And again, against Brentford. So whenever I've looked at Chelsea, I'll be honest, they haven't really played good. I haven't looked at any of their performances this season and been convinced. I think a big part of that to play is now they've got 2 games a week. We remember last year what happened when they played on the weekend with their best team, and then in the midweek, they'll go play a completely whole new 11 and then have 3 or 4 different subs on the bench. They were able to rest. They were able to recover. Now they're playing those 2 games a week. It's a different type of pressure. You've now got to play at a higher intensity consistently, but also no Cole Palmer. I think no Cole Palmer in that team. You see how much their attack breaks down. They're just not as fluid in front of goal, still creating chances, but just not those high quality chances that they do when he's on the pitch. I saw Don moaning at him and cussing him just a few weeks ago when he missed a few chances. And now it's just like, oh, we need Cole Palmer in front of goal because without him, there's not much else going on. That Brighton game, like you said, with 10 men, it's a concern that they're, 2 consecutive Premier League games that they get red cards. But more than anything, against Brighton, like I said, they just looked horrible. When they had that red card, they're just getting opened up. And for the game to collapse, was it the last 15 minutes? They conceded 3 goals, 2 in the 90th minute. That's poor. That's poor. You're supposed to see out those types of games. And when you speak about some of these Chelsea fans in the group chat, you remember when the Man United game was going on, they're the first ones to message. I always see Don and Ches jump in, go and they've always got something to say. To every other team, they're messaging me during my game. Make sure you don't lose. I'm like, bro, you just got smacked 3-1 and you're telling me make sure I don't lose. Like, Chelsea haven't looked good for a while. It's only going to get tougher because obviously they got Benfica coming up and then Liverpool. And then when they come back, they got a hard run of games as well. So I think it's going to get tougher. Maresca's job's not on the line or anything like that, but the pressure is on Maresca now because last season it was easy for you to do what you're doing. You're playing Conference League. You're always going to look good in Conference League. And then when you come back into the Premier League, you had your stint, they fell off for a while, but then he brought it back and the Club World Cup made everybody forget about how bad Chelsea were for 2-3 months last season. Now the pressure's back on. Can you guys recover without Cole Palmer? Can you guys show that you have this good attack in football? Because they spent £90 million on Garnacho and Gittins, and they're both sat on the bench doing nothing. Didn't even get subbed on. So
we need to speak about that. We do need to speak about it. We need to speak about it because during the summer, especially after the Club World Cup win, you couldn't chat to Chelsea fans about anything. You couldn't question anything. We're world champions. Look what we're doing. We're just spending money because we spend. Look at our selling. Look how good we're selling. No club is like us. But when you have genuine questions of, okay, cool, let's actually break down what you're buying here. Where is the centre-back, the elite centre-back that you need? Where is the elite goalkeeper you need? Where is the elite striker you need? Where is this left winger to complement your attack? Where are these experienced players coming from? And even Don were like, people like Don and the guys were like, what are you questioning for, man? Look at the amount of games that these young players have played. They're experienced. Experience is not just about age. Okay, cool, but maturity is. You know what I mean? You need more mature players on the pitch. And you look at what they've bought. Have they really? I still think Chelsea are good, by the way. I still think they'll find a way to turn it around. But if we're being honest, have they really improved the areas they need to improve? Have they really invested in the players that they need to kick on? Because they opted against Xavi Simons, a Netherlands international, semi-finals of the Euros with the Netherlands, one of their best players, RB Leipzig, PSG, Barcelona. They told him, they said, nah, we're going to spend that money on Garnacho. Like, the decision-making transfer-wise is coming to roost now, because now they've got no Delap. So they're playing João Pedro in a false 9 position that you really probably don't want him there, even though he's good. You got no Cole Palmer, and who's covering him? You bought Buonanotte as a number 10 cover. Buonanotte. He might be a talented player, but he's young and he couldn't get into the Brighton team. They sent out on loan. Like, and then what? The left wing. You've got Garnacho and Gittins, 2 talented players, yes. But if they're not starting in this injury-ridden Chelsea team, then we have to question, why do you spend 90 million on the pair?
Yeah, I listen, I thought they did some really good business in the summer. I don't take back anything that I said. That being said, I think there is the possibility I've overrated some of their other players. So I felt they were ready after another year of experience winning the World Championships with what they bought to go to that next level of consistency. And when I think about their players now, the midfield is excellent. Caicedo is as good as we all think he is. Palmer certainly. I think João Pedro is. The fullbacks, the main guys, Cucurella and James. Gusto's good, but I think Reece James is a level above. But with Levi Colwill out, let's see what Hato does over time. But defensively, something about this season, and maybe it's playing 2 games a week, as you say, Jords, it's a different type of intensity. The mistakes that are being made are not there. There's been a lack of intensity in the play. And I get what I think Rory Jennings said this yesterday, that it's Maresca. Maresca's not a great manager. He's not an outright winner. He might win some games and win some trophies, but he's more of a loser than a winner. And I think Maresca's made mistakes. The approach to the game against United when they went down to 10 men is an issue. I would be asking this question as a Chelsea fan. What are you doing in training? Where are the drills on 10v11? Because I know it's a bit of a cliched comment, but it's a cliched comment that was invariably true. Most teams become harder to play against when they go down to 10 men because they sit back, they're compact, they allow no space whatsoever. Absolutely none. You look yesterday, 11v11 when Newcastle went compact. And I was but Arsenal came back from 2 good crosses into the box from set pieces. They were almost impossible to break down in open play. And that isn't a dig at Arsenal. That's how well they defended as a point. If Brighton's goals came purely from set piece crosses when the box is loaded for the players, you understand it, because teams concede from set pieces when it's 10v11 or 11v11, it doesn't matter. But they were so easy to play through. Man United did the same thing to them. And if Cass hadn't have got sent off, that game could have got out of control for them last week. So there are definitely things to focus on when it comes to Maresca. But I do look at, Santos. I'm hearing Chelsea fans now want him in the team over Enzo Fernandez. They say he's better than Enzo Fernandez. Again, poor pass from him. Chalobah panicking. Yes, you're the wrong side of the player. I know you're trying to win the ball, but what a silly tackle from behind to try and make. I mean, we're all taught as kids, Jords and KJ, you don't make tackles from behind. One, you used to get red cards for it, but also, how likely are you to win the ball? It's low. The goalkeeping issue is one that it's interesting that a lot of Chelsea supporters that I listen to on their podcasts, their fan cams, they want to skirt around it. And I think when you look at your sporting directors, you look at the people making decisions, you could have gone back in for Mike Mignon. You chose not to because he was quote unquote too expensive. You had an opportunity with Donnarumma. He probably would have picked City over yourselves anyway, but you could have gone for him. That's a massive issue in itself. How nervous does Sanchez make your back line feel? I think that all plays a part. And I am nitpicking here because this Chelsea team should be better than it is. I'm not saying they should be perfect. I'm not saying they should be won all their 6 games because they've played some tough teams. But I think you're right, George. I'm looking at performances here. How many good performances has there been in those opening 6 games? West Ham, yes. I don't want to take anything away from Chelsea, but West Ham were so bad. They were so bad that I'm not surprised. They then beat Fulham, but it was a close game. They played quite well in that game. With the parts of I didn't watch a lot of that match because I was actually on holiday at the time. But you look at their last 3 games. You got the draw they had against Brentford. They weren't very good. And then the Man United game, we've been through that. And then at the weekend, they were comfortable. One mistake, and the team couldn't adapt. And I know it's 10v11 and Brighton play good football. But I do expect, and if Chelsea fans are offended by this, I'm sorry. I expect a club with the quality of player you have and the manager of the level he's at, 1-0 up at home, to potentially see that game out. I think the very best Chelsea teams I ever watched, the very best teams in the league, have an ability to be able to do that. And I've been really disappointed with Chelsea so far this season. And I think their fans are. And you can tell their fans are because they're hiding away a lot. I'm talking about the social media fans. And even in the comments section, I'm not seeing the usual Chelsea fans that are normally here chatting to us. So it has been a disastrous start. And look, up next for them is Liverpool. I mean, they could theoretically, if they lose that game, that would be 8 points from 7. They'd be sitting somewhere like mid-table. I mean, would you be surprised to see the sacking of Maresca or the calling for his head if they don't win this weekend, Jords?
Calling for his head, yeah. Sacking, no. I think Chelsea's a club. Well, him as a manager has brought himself a lot of credit in the bank with that Club World Cup win. Plus, obviously the Conference League win was expected, but the fact that you done what was expected, then on top of that, bettered it with the Club World Cup win. He's brought himself at least another season, or at least till the end of the season, I would imagine. But like you said, for me, the biggest problem is the expectation should be higher for a club like, and I know we've spoke about it so much and fans say, oh, it's irrelevant, but they've spent a damn lot of money. Now, we get the players aren't at the required level for you guys to say, yeah, they should compete with City, Arsenal, and Liverpool because the players aren't there. But then that's the problem, is the recruitment has been so poor. You've signed so many inexperienced players. You're trying to protect your investment, because that's what it seems like. It seems like Blueco is trying to protect their investment into the club by keep signing these young players so they can continue to turn a profit. So they know that Garnacho in a year or two, whether he doesn't play, he can still be sold for 35 to 40 million. Gittins can still be sold to 35 to 40. They're trying to protect their investment in these players. So they're treating the club more like a business than an actual football club. And that's where the problem. When I look at a lot of these games, you talk about those 10v11, Terry, it's the lack of experience. If you had an experienced defender like they did a few years ago in Thiago Silva, who used to calm the guys down and be like, do you know what, boys, look, we're going to get through. He'd speak to all the, he didn't even know English, but all the players just look at him and be like, yeah, look, he's locked in, we're locked in. And they would see these types of games out. Now they've got a full back line of Reece James, their most experienced player. But when you're talking about actually experience on the football pitch, there's not that much.
That's such a great point. I'd say, George, that is probably the best point on the show today. It's that lack of experience in those moments. And the one, look, David speaks about this a lot when he comes on, so I don't want to plagiarize his thoughts, why I mention him, that Chelsea's model is buy young, they grow up together, become a team that can win. I get the theory. I don't think everything Clear Lake have done squad building wise is wrong. And I'm not going to go back. I think they bought some tremendous young players. But I said it last January. And even though I praised some signings in the summer, I'll tell you, praise the signings in the summer. I did praise some of the signings. But I also said you needed some experience. So I think you're right, George. I think that if you had Donnarumma at the back, and if you had Gahey in the team, who's got some experience, but if you had a player like Thiago Silva, they went and bought, after being world champions, you went and bought one of the best centre-backs in the world from a club abroad. You went and brought, go and bring Bastoni into that team as an example. Bring someone of that kind of quality. Listen, it may not have been easy. Go and take Romero out of the Tottenham team, right? I'm using him as a case in point of his quality. Maybe they see maybe they see the game out at the weekend with that extra bit of experience. And I suppose the fear factor is these young players. What if they get burnt too much? Mm-hmm. And I always go back to something Gary Neville said, and this was probably about 5 years ago now, maybe a bit less. It was Monday Night Football, and the Man United starting 11 got put up on the team, and you had a young McTominay and Rashford, Greenwood, and that ilk in the squad, in the team. And they had, I think, we had some experienced players in there too, but that team was on there, and they were saying, "I'll just remind you of the class of '92. Could United do it again?" And Gary Neville said something which got no real traction on socials. Football fans didn't care about it, and I just thought, we're just the rage bait generation, aren't we, really? But it was just, he just said the difference is that those United players, we expect them to be the winners and the stars, and that pressure, because you never know how good a youngster is going to become, but the pressure that Rashford has to be the best player, Greenwood has to be the best player, McTominay's got to be the best player, and we did hold them to those standards. He says when we came through that class of '92, neither the manager nor fans expected a young Scholes, a young Neville, a young Beckham, a young Giggs to be the leaders or the match winners. That pressure was put on Cantona, Brian McClare, Pallister, Bruce, Paul Ince, these guys. Chelsea are doing something like there's an element of, I'm not saying it's the same as what United did with Rashford and McTominay and co. But when your young players are the ones that have the expectation on them to be match winners, there's always this possibility that you burn them because that pressure's there too young. Now I know straight away, but Yamal does it. But look at the experience around Yamal in the sense of you've got the Rafinhas of this world and you've got your Lewandowskis in the team, Frankie de Jongs, to name a few. Yes, he's the star because he's so talented and he's an anomaly in that way. By the way, none of those Chelsea players, maybe Palmer, are of that level. So, you know, you're suddenly making a comparison that doesn't exist. I just think if they go out in January and buy that world-class keeper, buy that experienced centre-back, I think a lot more will just, I think, forget whether Maresca's there or not. I think that'll just be a better team. Great point, Jords. Great point. Great point. Viewers, what do you all think? Let us know. Let's go to some of your comments that have come in here. Baz here says the footballing people at the club should choose Amorim because Barada remembered him from the City shortlist. There is no football plan. I don't care who manages us anymore. Yeah, listen, I mean, I do look at it that way, that if we are going to sack the manager, and if we're going to go in a new direction again, the people that decided on this direction that have got it wrong, their heads should probably also roll as well, because we can't. What I don't want to get back into is what he did with Woodward. Woodward kept on picking the wrong managers, helping to buy the wrong players, probably sacking some managers too early, and then we kept on trusting the same guy to try and fix us. Fucking crazy. We need Xavi to come and build us a midfield. We haven't built a midfield capable of competing at the highest level since Scholes and Carrick. Agreed. The midfield certainly needs better technical ability to make the systems that we're talking about work at the nth degree. I think everybody agrees with that point, my friend. Thank you for that super chat. It means a great deal to us. Chelsea could have been on 8 points in 7 games after next week. Yeah, they could be. We were talking about it, Kieran. They could be in a real predicament because I think this season for Chelsea, maybe they weren't meant to win. I didn't say they'd win the league, but I thought they'd be in the title race to a point. I really did believe that. But I thought they'd make top 4 qualification comfortable. Right now, that doesn't look like it's happening, which means if they don't make top 4 comfortably, that means there's been no real progression since last season. And that's not, they got in right at the brilliant last 5-6 games of the season, which proves this Chelsea team can play on that level. They spent a lot of money, but they've got nowhere near that end of the season form yet. Maybe it is the manager. I don't know. Something about it, I'm not buying it. I'm not quite buying it. It's the manager. But there we go. Viewers, hit like buttons, please. Make sure you are subscribing. Jords, Arsenal. Your dreaded Arsenal. I mean, before we go into Arsenal, do you want to talk about Spurs at all? Is it something that's on your mind? It's a bit of a draw. I mean it in a way of like, I think no one's cooking Spurs. There's no real talking points. If you want to discuss your team, we can. Or
I can touch on it briefly. I'm sure people in the chat are going to be like, yeah, George, you don't want to talk about Spurs dropping points against a team that won 0 games and they were 005 prior to us playing them and now they got a draw. Look, I'll be honest. You know what it is with how we're playing right now? It's very clear to see that it's a new manager, new team, new system sort of working together because you can still see throughout a lot of these games, Frank's still trying new things. Frank's still learning. He's still trying to find new solutions. On the game itself, we had a good first half, a very, very poor second half. And I think for me, the biggest takeaway is just the lack of attacking threat. I think up front, we've been a bit toothless in probably our last couple games, barring the Brighton one where I feel like in that second half, we were creating quite a bit. We just haven't been that good in front of goal. So I think the biggest thing that needs to be addressed for us is what's going on up top. Now, I think some of that will be naturally addressed when you have a few different rotational options to change from, because when you've just got Richarlison as your only striker option, he doesn't do much in the build-up or link-up plays. So there's not much difference that you can do with the way that you are attacking because he's very limited in what he offers. So for that, I don't really... I know some people are looking at Frank and they're like, oh, he's such a pragmatic manager. He doesn't know how to coach an attacking team and stuff. And I'm like, just give him time. Give him, time to build up with these players. Once you have a few players back from injury, whether that's Kolo Muani, Solanke, Kulusevski, potentially Maddison, that's 4 very creative players that come back into this team and give you another level and another step up when you talk about these substitutions. So, look, I think Spurs haven't been great in these past 2 games, but I'm also not worried because we've got Leeds up next. We've got a game in between that with Bodo Glimt. So it presents another opportunity to find a few new solutions. I would just like to see Xavi start in the 10. He's addressed it, and he has spoke about it, Thomas himself, basically saying that like he does like him in the 10. He played really good in the 10 against Brighton, but then he gave him about 20 minutes in the 10 against Wolves, but it was in a game state where we just didn't have much of the ball. So yeah. I just think he needs to be tried out more in the 10. But look, I'm really not worried. I'm not of the Spurs fans that are like starting to get onto Thomas Frank. It's normal 7 games in. There are going to be some ups and downs, and we haven't lost. We've lost 1 game. Like, I'm really not mad. You're fourth. I mean, if you multiply what you've done across the season, if you end up coming 4th this year, it's a great. Like I look at it like this. You're kind of. I know it's 2 games on the bounce without a win, but I kind of look at where you are and think 4th is about. Like 4th, probably above expectation, if that makes sense. So, and you played a decent mixture of teams so far. I actually think as well you're going to be really difficult for the bigger teams to beat this year because Thomas Frank's style is kryptonite to them. So, yeah, I did watch the Spurs game, and I thought you should have been leading in the first half. You were really good in the first half, faded a bit in the second.
conceded a goal. I mean, Vicario, again, top goalkeepers are needed. That's an area you guys have got to focus on in the window. You see the difference between a good goalkeeper and a top-class goalkeeper. A top-class goalkeeper, you win that game 1-0. So I think that, it wasn't like they were peppering you. I've got no real worry. Spurs, I stand on what I said at the beginning of the season. I think you're going to be a very hard team to beat this year. And the draw at the weekend proves it. Even when you're not at your best, you didn't lose. And I think that's a good sign, really.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's making it tough to beat.
I don't see why Spurs fans are panicking. You said some of them panic. I don't know why they're panicking or getting on to Thomas Frank. Maybe it's just the modern times of football fans now, where it's like as soon as something goes a little bit wrong, 2 games without a win, it's like, the manager's rubbish. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's just that, but like I look at you guys play, and I'm honestly impressed with how quickly Frank has turned you guys around to make you a competent team. You are hard to beat, and you have spells like the first half where you look at you like, wow, like you guys you should be scoring more goals. So I don't see why you guys are panicking. You guys are a good team, man.
I agree. Speaking of panic, obviously a lot of people went into meltdown yesterday evening with Arsenal coming up trumps, Arsenal winning the way they did. I got a bit of content dropping later today. I've enjoyed the research into it today. The amount of hate watches, it just went bing, and ended. I love it because I love fan content. That's what it is. But
that's what they do.
But Arsenal yesterday, Jords, it wasn't just the way that it wasn't a smash and grab. They weren't crap and scored 2 late goals. They were comprehensively better than Newcastle. The manager, I think, had this week listened to his critics. The handbrake was removed. Eze started. And barring a goal against a run of play, you could argue it's the best Arsenal have looked in the Premier League in the last 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, Arsenal looked really good yesterday. To be honest, I expected that performance from them. I actually predicted them to win 3-1. I just thought that going into this game, Mikel will know like there's a bit more pressure and that he wants to see, or the Arsenal fans want to see, take the handbrake off, let the team loose, play Eze in the 10. And naturally, when you play Eze in the 10, you're going to see a bit more flair, a bit more freedom, a bit more creativity in the front because he makes something from nothing. He's a player who's going to drop the shoulder, beat his man. And then sometimes when you think he's lost the ball, no, he sticks his leg out, rolls it around. He's just got that little bit of skill about him that can get him past the player. So they definitely look better in this game. I think for me, I know some people say they nicked the win. I say that for those types of games, when Liverpool are doing it, it's the sign of champions. So you got to say the same thing when it's Arsenal. It's a sign of champions. I know Gary Neville said on the commentary when Moreno scored, you got to go get another one if you want to win the title. They done that. They went and got another one. So look, Set Piece FC done what they done. Gabriel bullied, I don't know who he bullied in the air, but especially after what Volta had done to him and he was crying all over the floor. It's what
I don't know what he was doing.
Centre back, but what I did like is that game was a very old school, ruthless. I'm seeing elbows go into each other's heads. That was a proper battle. I love it. You could see that both teams were proper battling it out. And they're building like a little rivalry, Newcastle and Arsenal. Like whenever they go into their games, there's always some controversy. There's always that little bit of extra aggression and fight. And look, it was a good game for the neutral. Obviously, as a Tottenham fan, don't want to see Arsenal win, but I'll be honest, I expected that to happen. And that midfielder, Declan Rice and Zubimendi, is really starting to click. They're starting to look really good to get next to each other.
Yeah, and it's a really massive win for Arsenal because again, that's also a place where they've failed to capitalize on points. Whenever rivals drop points or a chance for Arsenal to go and take some impetus in the title race, when they come up against Newcastle, especially away, it just falls flat on its face. So obviously, the biggest one being, I think, when they were trying to get top 4 that year and they'd lost 2-0. Obviously, had there also the disallowed goal or like the whole incident with Gabriel being pushed or Jolinton being pushed and stuff like that. So they've got a big hoodoo off their back this season with that win, and it will go forward and it will serve them well in the title race because then they can start to believe. They can start to be like, you know what? It doesn't matter who we play, no matter what records we have at certain grounds or what kind of how we like play against certain teams that we can overcome. And Arteta got it right. And he wasn't like they didn't deserve to win that. Like people say they nicked it. They didn't nick it. Like they hit the post. They had many chances to try and score goals. They were working Nick Pope. Nick Pope had a great game. considering like he still lost. Like, yeah, the saves they were making was there because Arsenal were putting the pressure on, and they were putting trying to put Newcastle to the sword. So it was a good performance. It was a good performance, and going forward, Arsenal need to maintain that. That's what hopefully Arteta, if you look at it from Arsenal perspective, can learn from this and be like, yo, we don't have to be as cautious all the time in these big moments. Like, maybe we can put more impetus into the game and be a bit more front foot against the bigger teams, because they're a good team. And people don't like it because it's Arsenal. Obviously, Jords won't like it. You know what I mean? Many fans won't like it online and stuff, but they're a top team. And if they just keep showing that they are, I don't think anyone will start. Like, I think people will die down about Arsenal if they keep doing stuff like this, where they win games and you can say, well, even before the last minute winner,
But the analysis though is crazy. It's going to feature on a show of mine this afternoon. But I saw Andy Graham and Richard Keys talk about how he doesn't trust his players. And you know the reasoning they gave? This is what I mean by the duplicity and the ridiculous nature of the criticism of Arsenal. And as a football fan, I'll push back against it because it's crazy. They said they can prove he doesn't trust his players. I went, how? Because he doesn't sit down during the game, he stands up.
But if he wasn't...
Because he can't sit down and relax, it means he doesn't trust his players. And you sit there and think, I don't remember ever seeing Klopp really sit down. Pep's always standing up. But you get Fergie, by the way, only sat down in the latter stage of his career because the man was old. Like, he was in his 70s, right? But this is what and this is why I get, like, yesterday, Phil came on and called out Anton. Now, Anton, I push back if you're watching Anton against some of your stats because you made them yourself. Right. And I don't know how good you are at statistics. You might be an expert. You might have a master's degree in statistical analysis. But he said that Arsenal have had, I don't remember if he said first or second hardest, but one of the hardest starts. And Liverpool's start to the season was the 12th hardest, or, you know, the 8th easiest, or whichever way around you want to look at it. But from my perspective, I think Arsenal have had a slightly tougher start than Liverpool, but I think it's marginal. But I agree with his point that Arsenal have now given themselves a great base to try and win the Premier League from, because they've gone away to Liverpool, they've played City at home, they've gone away to Newcastle, away to Man United. And although United are crap, we've always been a horrible place for them to go. And they've come out of it with 12 points from a possible 15. And they've got the joint most goals scored. So again, people are going on the attacking record and the way they attack. No team scored more than them in the league. Best defensive record. That means they have the best goal difference. And they've had a very hard start. And that rattles people, because for the last 3 or 4 seasons, everybody's been hoping for the demise and the fall of Arsenal Football Club. And that's fine for people to want that. The only part that's frustrated me has been the awful analysis, like the one I just mentioned, the making, oh, he only started Waneri so he could say he played the youngest player, right through to he don't trust these players because he stands up during the game. That's the shit I hate and push back against, because we just don't need that in football. It plays, especially from the pros, it plays no part in analysing the game. It's not even banter. It's just bullshit. But Arsenal yesterday was supreme. And when they went 1-0 down, I sat here and laughed, right? I sat here and laughed. And I was like, I felt a bit bad for them in the sense of, because there's this part of me going, oh, can you imagine the toxicity after this game if they're a bit more brave? They start Eze and end up losing a couple of goals on the counter or whatever it may be. But they didn't. They kept their heads. I thought Eze in the 10 was just majestic. I thought it was majestic. I loved watching him play. Unlucky not to score a couple of goals. Nick Pope on his points. Some of the hold-up play yesterday from Victor Gyökeres. I think Giuseppe, if you're watching, brother, you shouldn't have yielded on your "he plays like Harry Kane" comment too soon. Obviously, I'm being. By the way, that's a bit of banter, ladies and gentlemen. It's not real analysis. It's a very flippant, quick comment. He weren't as good as Harry Kane at hold-up play, but he was very good at it yesterday. I thought it was great that taking Saka off was being nullified, still isn't fully match fit, didn't run him into the ground until the 95th minute of the game, takes him off, brings on Martinelli from the bench. I think Martinelli may have found his place in the squad this season, being that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, being that super sub, bringing that speed on for the last 15, 20 minutes of a game is a nightmare for teams. And Declan Rice in the middle. I always know, Jords, okay, this is us talking in our community when Declan Rice has done well, because Don and Ches are silent. They don't say anything. That's like my barometer for Declan Rice. Is let me check the GC. Let me see if these boys have mentioned his name. That's how I kind of test. I go, I think he's been good, but I need to see if those boys have mentioned him. When it's silence, you know your thoughts right. But he was just, in the first half, I thought he was a little quiet and a little deep. Second half, he just started to get more and more into the game. Forget the assist. It was a brilliant cross. Forget that is just a cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake. He just had, again, the midfield he was up against, it was just dominant. It was experienced. There was leadership in there. And my only real message, because again, my club can't win the league. It's impossible for Man United to win the league this season. And I don't want Liverpool getting number 21. I don't want City and Pep getting another one. So I do want Arsenal to win the league. I prefer Chelsea out of the teams that at the start of the season we thought might be able to win it. By the way, if Thomas Frank can go on a run and win the league, I'd pick you over Chelsea because there's a hierarchy to who my bigger rivals are. But Arsenal feel like the only team that could conceivably win the league other than City, who might, and Liverpool that are the favourites. So I hope Arsenal do it because at the end of the day, that is the lesser of two evils for me. But my message to them is very simple. Keep playing the way you did this weekend. You will win easily 5 or 6 more games playing this way to being a little bit more conservative, taking the risk at the right time. And I thought they were great yesterday, Arsenal. Massive value for money. And some of the players that were maybe not so fancied and written off a little bit really stepped up. I suppose the other thing I would say as well, finally Terry admits it.
Everyone's now saying you're now a goon.
Well, I did my first career mode game last night. There's no master slip. I mean, this is the irony in it. I think it's the online fan versus the everyday fan who's not online. There is no Man United fan in my... I do question your love and understanding of Man United if you'd prefer Liverpool to win the league over Arsenal. Now, of course, my main preference is I want Man United to win the league. But I can't hope for that this season. That's a weird thing to hope for. It's like being a grown-up that believes in Santa Claus coming. Like if I get to Christmas Eve and my kids are all excited, oh, I can't wait for the presents, and I'm sitting there going, oh yeah, Santa's come. Oh shit, I didn't buy nothing. Like we're fucked. Christmas is ruined, right? Santa ain't real. Man United are not winning the league. So what do I want to happen? Well, I don't want my biggest rivals winning it. You could take it as a bit of a low blow against Arsenal, saying I don't see them as that big a rival, but I don't compare it to Liverpool. I don't compare it to City. If I had to choose, I'd pick City to win it over Liverpool. I'd never want Liverpool to win the league ever. The only time maybe would be if it would stop City doing a quad, which surpasses an achievement my club's never done. So, it's always. But this is the mad bit. It's always about my club. My reasons are nothing to do with anybody else's. I don't want it so Miguel can celebrate. I don't want it for Mikel. I want it for me. But yeah, I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm on loan anyway. I'm on loan at Arsenal this year. I might even wear a kit. I might even wear a kit just to wind more people up.
Now, the only thing I will say about Arsenal's running and so on is like it has been tough. It's definitely been a tougher start to the season than most. But last season, they didn't have a problem with these games. Their problem came in the next 3 games that they have coming up is the West Ham, the Fulham, the Crystal Palace, those small London derbies where Fulham, they dropped points last season. West Ham's the team they lost to last season. And this is a West Ham now with Nuno, who's going to be very difficult to beat because they're going to be very defensively astute. So when I look at Arsenal, I say, yeah, you've done your job in those games. You beat Newcastle, a team you couldn't beat last season. Great. You didn't lose against City when you managed to capture a point in the last minute. Great. Liverpool, fine, that happened. But can you get it done against West Ham, Fulham, Palace, and some of these smaller teams where you struggled last year? That's where they need Gyökeres to be scoring a couple goals. Because it's nice that Gyökeres had a decent game yesterday and he had a few decent games. But in these bigger games, in the Newcastle game, in the City game, in the Liverpool game, he's been near to nothing in front of goal. Hasn't really offered much. He needs to do more. And look, everyone did say it's in the small games that he got brought in to do. So look, against West Ham and Fulham, those games where you created near to nothing last season, let's see if he is going to be the difference.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's that test, isn't it, now to go and the next 3 games, none of the games are 100%. They're all winnable, but they're not easy because the Premier League it's such a hard league. But go and win your next 2 or 3 games on the bounce, and I think you might see the excitement in that Arsenal fan base increase. I mean, I did read this morning. It was only in an article. Odds to win the Premier League. somewhere somebody showed me. I saw a screenshot that showed Arsenal was the favourites. I haven't checked it in the UK. They are. Arsenal are now the favourites in the UK betting market. Now, to be very clear to anyone who doesn't know, that isn't just the odds set. So the way the odds work, and Lou could probably tell us better in the comment section if I'm nearly right, completely wrong, 100%. But the betting odds are not always fair because Manchester United, like we're still nearly always the favourites to win our game, which I think is ridiculous because they don't want it. But the odds are also dictated by people placing bets. So if for whatever reason after yesterday, millions of Arsenal fans and rivals that gamble start putting bets on Arsenal to win the league, the bookmakers will shorten the odds because they want to mitigate against having to pay out more and more money. So there is an element in there which is to do with betting patterns as well, I think. But they are with the bookmakers now the favourites to win the league. Slight marginal favourites over Liverpool, even though they're behind them. But what do you make of that, KJ? Would you say Arsenal are now the favourites to win the league? Lou, who worked in that industry, says correct. Cool, thank you. I thought so. So do you feel like Arsenal are the favourites to win the league now?
Not quite yet. I think because we've seen it before with Arsenal. They can start seasons well. It's the middle part of the season and the back end of the season where they falter. We have the proof of Liverpool doing it. Obviously, the additions that they've added have been really good additions, turns out on paper. But Liverpool's just need to figure it out. But we all believe that Liverpool will figure it out, and if they do figure it out, you would still say they're favourites. So I think it's too early for it to switch. I think it's too early for people to switch, say Arsenal now the favourites. But the people acting like they were having no chance to win the league, I think will be disingenuous. Like we know Arsenal will be up there, they will be close, and if they do win the league, no one should be surprised. Like, I don't think anyone who really watches football and really isn't like being biased, if you take bias out of it, is going to be shocked that Arsenal win the league this year. So they're very close to Liverpool. They're almost on par with them. I think give it a few more weeks, maybe get into like the 15-game mark, see how both teams are playing, and then I think it'll be time to say to switch over to Arsenal being favourites if they are still ahead.
On the game yesterday, Newcastle fans claiming they should have had a penalty late in the game for this challenge. Should this have been a penalty in the game?
Wasn't it deflection? So obviously, because it deflected, see, this is where the rules really it's nuanced and it's really hard to, because I'm pretty sure what happened to how that happened was Elanga went to cross it, but because Gabriel slid, it bounced up off his foot and then hit his arm. Now, to me, as a football fan, and not a referee, I would still say that's a penalty because his arm is in a very unnatural position. It's quite high. And yeah, I get it was deflect, but it's not really a deflection because he slid into him. So to me, that's not a deflection because it wasn't unintentional type thing. But at the same time, I understand the rule as to why it wasn't given. I still think that as per the rules, it's not a penalty, but I feel like the rule is what's the problem. So yeah, it's not a penalty.
I think the rule is fair. Maybe they just need to adjust it where it's like if it's still in an unnatural position, because we had a penalty given against us in the Europa League a few years ago.
Sorry.
With Martinez, it flicks off his thigh and his arm is here. His arm is here and it hits off his arm and they give a pen. So I think the deflection rule is needed, but I think you can argue even if something deflects off your body, if your arm's all the way out here, then that still can constitute as unnatural. But then you can argue he's going in for he's going for a slide, right? And if you're sliding, you can't do it with your arms down your side. So
I wish we could show the footage, and this is where YouTube's annoying because it should be. We could do this for educational purposes. We should be able to do. I'm watching a compilation here of crazy tackles by famous defenders. Okay, every single one of them, and all these tackles would make us do this. Watching, we'd all go, "Whoa!" We'd all clap it. Every single one of them, the arms are going here, 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 here. Your body has to do it. Every single slide tackle I'm watching, no one's arms are by their side like this. Every single one of them, the arms are up. So I do get if you slide in and the ball's crossed and then it hits your arm, I understood it being given because you've blocked it with your arm. It's accidental, but you've blocked it. if there's a deflection, which there was, it hit Gabriel's leg, and this is how you know there's bitterness out there. People are saying, I've seen the replays and I can't see the deflection. Then, bruv, you're moving like Stevie Wonder, because you see it hit Gabriel's shin, it then hits Alanga, then it hits the arm. And the thing is, we said this the other day, and maybe we should, it's hard to do because there's no point doing it for YouTube if nobody can see it, because people will go, you're lying. But I'm just watching all these great slide tackles, and nearly all of them, their arms are out. So how is it an unnatural position if that's where most people's arms are when they make sliding tackles? That means it's like running. When you run, your arms do this. That's a natural position. It's weird to me that we've created this nonsense.
Because we have to be honest, though. If he did just slide in and his arm was up in the air and they crossed it, but there was no deflection, it hit off his hand, everybody would be like, why is his arm up in the air? That's a poor challenge. It's because it's deflected now. People are defending the position of the arm. But if he was on the edge of the box, let's say trying to put in a cross, and he slid in like we've seen before, and you know, like the arm's trailing at the back and it hits the arm, that's given as a penalty a lot of the time. So
and it shouldn't be, because it's, again, we go with what they say, and it's in an unnatural position. But that's where defenders' arms are. Now, I can understand someone says, well, when you're making a block, it's a little bit different. So if you're making a block and you slide in for the block, but you do it and you throw your arms out like this, maybe there's an argument so you're making your body bigger. But when you're actually making an attempt to win the ball, I'm just sitting here watching these slide tackles right now, and it's either the arm goes up or it goes out to the side.
Yeah. If
someone then knocks the ball round you and it hits your arm, it is in a natural position. The same as we saw famously a West Ham player get sent off against Chelsea because he cleared the ball. He kicked the ball clear.
Yes, I remember that.
And the follow through hit someone's leg and he got sent off. And the point is that there was no attempt to play. They got it wrong. That is just a coming together, because by that theory, anyone who takes a shot and the follow through hits someone, they're going to see a red card. They just made a fundamental mistake because the slow motion made it look bad. There are certain things in football that are just natural. They're not there to endanger people. And every now and then you might get an accident from it. You can't start sending everybody off for doing it, as an example. And this is just another example. We've created this rule in the game that makes no sense. It's like the penalty yesterday that Arsenal had that didn't have given. I still can't believe and fathom, guys, that was overturned. And 𝗕𝗥𝗘𝗔𝗞𝗡𝗚 is, of course, saying no, there was a touch, and then he plants his foot, so it's okay. But it doesn't make any sense to anyone watching, because we've seen two penalties given: the Pedro last year against Arsenal, and one just last weekend, Sanchez, Man United, where it was defended, where they said doesn't matter, there's a slight touch because the defender didn't win possession of the ball, and/or the attacker was going to go through and score goals. In this example, the touch matters, and this is where football fans get angry, and this is why there's always these crazy debates. You've got people telling me that they're all different situations. I'm like, okay, there is differences in them, but by and large, we as football fans aren't stupid. We all look at them and go, well, challenges were made in all of them. There was a touch from each player to before contact with the defending player has made contact with the ball before touching the attacking player. Two were given as penalties. One was overturned. And I sit there and just think to myself, sometimes I think they do this for drama. I'm not even going to lie. Like yesterday, not letting Calafiori use the towel to dry the ball. What was the point of not letting him?
But then Lerma, one of the goals for Palace, I think, came. Is it Palace? Or someone used a towel to throw the ball and it led to a goal.
Sometimes, man, it's crazy.
I also think
that
with that penalty as well, that we're talking about Arsenal. I think the way Gyökeres, I think there's bias in there as well, in terms of wait, before people go on, I'm not saying Arsenal bias. This is more to do with Gyökeres and his size. When players of a bigger stature like Gyökeres go down in a certain way, thanks, Jords, they don't really get much as you would want. You know what I mean? We've seen it where lighter players, you touch them and they go down. It's like, oh, it's a free kick, but it's not. But I think in this instance, the way that Gyökeres goes down, it's not his fault. But I think that also plays in their mind. It's like, well, he's a really big guy. He's really quick. Does he need to go down like that? Probably not. So they'll probably also have that in their mind as well, to not to give it either.
No, I understand that. And I think it's Mason Mount only got that penalty against Fulham because he's so much smaller than Bassi. Well, because if Bassi would have tried to do that to Šeško, he wouldn't have been able to. Šeško's too big. So there is that element there that's true. But viewers, look, give us your thoughts, give us your opinions on all of that right now in the comments section below. Interesting report that's just come out, by the way. that I'm just reading it here. This is from Talk Sport. So there's a few more updates with breaking news from Talk Sport that Manchester United are casting their net now to see what managers are available. And by the way, I know not everyone likes Alex Crook, but him and Ben Jacobs are quite consistent on that. I think they're telling us the truth. I don't believe this nonsense that Man United are fully behind the manager and he's going to get the full season. I just don't believe that.
Oh,
briefing.
no.
That briefing is nonsense.
It's a load of PR for Man United. Again, the dreaded vote of confidence before manager gets sacked. We've seen it many times. I think, man, you know, it's funny the way Ineos do things. They do this thing of like we won't be like the Glazers. We have to be different. But because they're doing it that way, they end up being like the Glazers anyway. Because the Glazers also did votes of confidence and say they're going to back managers. The Glazers also held on to managers for way too long. If you want to be different to the Glazers, literally just be honest. Just say, listen, he's under pressure. Like just come out with it. Like, because everyone knows, everyone can see it. You don't get your owner coming to the training ground for a jolly up. He's there because something's going wrong.
No, I agree. I would also, if they're going to remove him, I'd remove him before the Sunderland game. And if they've got someone that can get in quickly before the weekend, I'd do it. Reason being is I don't want the new manager's first game to be away to Liverpool. I look at that and just think, just because of it just doesn't look right. But we'll see what happens with that. On the weekend title race, Liverpool lost their first game, and obviously some controversy surrounding it in the sense of Arne Slot. I think it's Mo Salah's talking about. We may get corrected in the comment section by Liverpool fans, where he had a pop saying the game was done. We just had to stay defensive. But one of us tried to attack. That left openings. We then concede, and we have to kind of learn from that. I don't read too much into that personally. I think it's just, a manager, putting some criticism in there. But a lot of people are kind of jumping on this. Liverpool haven't played well all season. They've been getting away with it. They've now been exposed. There's frictions. The £250 million worth of talent in Isak and Wirtz isn't delivering. Do you think there's an overreaction to Liverpool's first defeat of the season?
I say no for two reasons. One, they got cooked. Like, it wasn't like it was a scammy, dodgy 2-1 loss where Palace had 2 shots on targets, 2 goals. One of them came off Mateta's backside. They were getting cooked. Alisson was making some good saves. I think some of the chances that Palace had, they should have done better. Obviously, Mateta hitting the post, failing to score 1-on-1. So they were getting comprehensively cooked. So that was a worry. But number two, the team has also not been doing great in terms of performances. Like, we're not surprised that they conceded goals. They've been conceding 2. How many games have conceded 2 this season? Like, 3, 4 games already in the season? So I don't think it's an overreaction in terms of Liverpool have not been playing well. What I think would be an overreaction would be to say these guys can't win the league or these guys are not going to win the title race. That would be an overreaction. But the performance itself, they've not been performing to the best of their abilities. And we all have said it and we all can see it. So yeah, like those guys, like Liverpool, they need to find some solutions. So Slot's trying. He's put Wirtz in the middle and he's put Wirtz on the left. He obviously Wirtz had that golden opportunity to score a goal and didn't actually take the chance. Henderson saved it. So he's trying solutions. So there will be some adjustments that need to be made. But to say that it's just an overreaction because Liverpool have been amazing, like, no, they haven't been amazing. So yeah, like it's something for Liverpool fans to track and to criticize and to look at. But I wouldn't say like, oh, the title's over. Oh, we have to get rid of Slot now. He's out of his depth. Like, we don't need to hear none of that. That would be the overreaction in my eyes.
This year says, have Liverpool been found out? Will they struggle? I don't believe that at this point. Is it a possibility they just don't get any better this season? Yes. Is that a possibility? Of course, but I think it's a very small possibility right now. What is more likely is they start performing better, they start scoring more goals. And yes, the game could have been outside for Palace, but Alisson did do his job. Equally, that second half, Liverpool really could have scored 2 or 3 goals. They just didn't take their chances. and Henderson made great saves. So for me, yes, if you go in chronological order and say that if all the goals were scored, would Liverpool have had all those chances if Palace were 2 or 3-0 up? Maybe not, because it can take your impetus away from the game. It can take your flow away, and it changes the game state. But did they have chances in the second half to equalise, take the lead, win the game? Yes, they did. They also played one of the best teams in England. Right now, Crystal Palace are one of the best teams around. Unbeaten in 20-odd games. Record against the bigger on paper sides is brilliant. I think there is how do I say this in the correct way? I think people are not recognising how good Palace are, and they beat Liverpool 2-1 with the last kick of the game. Does that mean Liverpool have been found out? No. Now, what I would say to anybody, now you're asking a question that's fair. I saw a lot of journalists jump on this at the weekend. Ones that said, there was a guy from CBS, I told you Liverpool were overrated. Yeah, you said they were overrated, but then you also mentioned they were only in first gear and they've got loads more gears to go up. And then you're celebrating the wins, and I told you all they're overrated. But you also said they're not going to remain at this level, they're going to get better. So how are they being overrated? It doesn't even make sense. If they're winning all these games and you say they've got a great mentality without being good, but you think they're going to get to that really good level, how can you call them overrated? It doesn't make, because nobody was looking at those first 4 or 5 games going, oh my God, the way Liverpool are blowing everybody away, it's the best football I've ever seen in my life. People were saying the reason the fear was there was Liverpool are not even brilliant right now and they're beating everybody. And do they have to score some goals earlier in games? Yes. Do they have to kill some games up earlier? Yes. Will they? I believe so, because look, I don't know about you, KJ. Like, Wirtz is getting a lot of stick at the minute.
Mm-hmm.
Isak's getting a lot of stick at the minute. I get why they're getting stick, because every player that's ever cost north of £85 million gets ridiculous levels of scrutiny.
Yeah.
But again, I watched them play, and yeah, he probably should have scored Wirtz, and so should Isak. But I didn't watch them play and think, oh my God, they've bought a Bebe. So, oh my God, they've bought a dud. Touch is bad, no skill, link up play poor. Doesn't look like, both look like players that are going to have the capabilities of delivering. It just hasn't happened yet. And I feel that Liverpool fans just need to back their players here, because I feel like what rivals are trying to do, and the media will do it too, is they're trying to put pressure on you to kill you. They're trying to put pressure on you to destroy you. But what do you think? Because some people are making, obviously, the 007 stuff with Wirtz and everything else. There's a lot of claims at the minute that this is a lot of wasted money. Is that your train of thought towards Liverpool yet?
No, I don't think it's wasted money. I think you have to give it a few more games, deeper into the season, deeper into the Champions League, to see if it's a waste of money or not before the players that they bought. I don't think Isak should be getting much stick, because he's only started. Is that his first Premier League start for Liverpool? It's his 3rd or 4th game for Liverpool in total, because he didn't play for Newcastle. The international break came in, and then he started to play some games. So I'm not really looking at Isak to be fair. Like Wirtz, though, I do think Slot needs to take Wirtz out the firing line. And I know people will say, but he's £100 million plus. Like you can't drop him. You can't protect him. He has to be playing week in, week out and prove it. But if we're being real, if they want the best out of Wirtz, I think it'd be best to take him out of the firing line for a bit. He's clearly not adjusted to England as quick as people wanted to. As quick as people expect £100 million players to adapt. So as a manager, I'm looking at it as like, well, use the formula that got you with the wins in the first year. Just for this first little period to make sure you guys are stabilized, you guys are balanced, and then you can start integrating him in. I know the fans won't like it. I know the people will criticize it. But at the end of the day, I've seen Pep Guardiola have players like Rodri in and out of the team for a year and a half. Players like Mares in and out of the team a year and a half. So many players that Pep has got. We had the whole thing of Pep's got that teaching year that he has with them, that reprogramming year he has with them, where they don't really start games, they're in and out, but they a year later or a year and a half later, they start every game and they're amazing. Maybe then it's just wanting to do Wirtz. Forget about the price tag. You have to pay what you have to pay, but he's not adjusting well, and he needs that time. He needs that period, those games where he can come in, do a little bit of a thing, get used to the Premier League, and then he can start starting them again. So I don't think there's any shame in doing that. If I'm honest, let Wirtz come in slowly.
But I think the same with Alexander Isak. I think that you are better off bleeding them in. And I think that would have happened this weekend. I mean, 𝗕𝗥𝗘𝗚's red card played a massive part. And by the way, thank you for pointing out some people think it's Gak. This is the thing. Some people saying that the manager was having a go at Gakpo.
Yeah.
The only reason I ask is on socials, I've seen 𝗕𝗥𝗘𝗚, because the way Kerkez cleared the ball, and Mo Salah blamed. Without that's the one thing about the manager saying what he said. It does leave it open to interpretation. It would maybe have been easier for us, the viewers, to know exactly who if he specified, but maybe that's the point. Maybe he wants it to feel like, or maybe he wants a few of his players going, oh shit, was that me? So they're better next time.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think he should be bleeding them in. I think he should be the expectation. Every touch that isn't right gets a way. You see Garnacho as an example. If you notice that Garnacho gets booed every time he touches the ball for Chelsea, because of the way he left. Isak is getting booed because of the way he left. Wirtz, because of how much money he cost. Isak's getting it for the money too.
Yeah.
It's a new trend in football. When a player costs a large amount of money or they're like forced to move, they're booed upon. They're booed in the grounds. The media are on them. Rivals are on them. We know these players use social media. And I think when you couple all of this together, it creates a very difficult sort of hunting ground, really. I think it creates a very difficult place for football players to thrive. And I think Slot's got to get that balance right. What doesn't help him is 𝗕𝗥𝗘𝗚 getting a stupid red card, and then he's forced into playing Isak, because Isak still doesn't look match fit to me. I think Isak coming on for that last 20 minutes of a game would have been better for Liverpool than starting the football match. But I think too many people are writing Liverpool off too soon. I get why. By the way, I'd love them to be right. I'd love Liverpool to fade away. I'd love Liverpool to not have a great season. Of course I would. I'm a Manchester United fan. I don't want them winning the league. I don't want them going back to back. I don't want them getting number 21. I don't want these things. You know, the legacy some of these players are building, I don't want their legacies to ever be better than my best players. I've got genuine reason to want Liverpool to be bad. What I won't do, though, is sort of delude myself into thinking that one defeat to a very good Crystal Palace side in a team that's still finding its feet is proof they've been exposed and they won't get any better. I think that is such limited thinking and analysis. I just personally can't do that.
No, I agree. And then also I think what's happened is now, like, football fans don't forget certain things, and the likes of Liverpool fans, when it's come to big signings, spending lots of money, they've been the guys at the forefront. They're on the front line of the battle of, we don't spend big money, we create superstars. All you teams buying with these big players always fail. We've done it the right way. Because they've been the arbitrators of that, because they've been the ones that have been screaming that for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. When they've done it now, fans are like, but hold up, you told us this is wrong, but you're lauding your team for doing it. Okay, we're going to stick it on you now because you guys are the ones that kept on going on about it. So I think that's all that doesn't help as well. Liverpool fans, their attitude towards these kind of things, no one's really addressed it. Like, as a fan, they haven't addressed it. No one's really said, oh, I'm not really a fan of how much we spent. I'm not really a fan of how spending 200 million plus on 2 players. It's not the Liverpool way. That's not what we do. No one said that. They've just celebrated it, which is their right to do. And they've bragged about how much they're spending, what players they've got, how great their team is. So obviously rival fans will be like, no, you came after Paul Pogba, Jack Grealish, you've come after Lukaku, all these expensive players you guys have come after. So we're going to do the same. And that's the tribalism of football right now, isn't it? And the worst thing is, though, we are fans, we are tribal, we're in the battlefield, right? We are meant to do that. That's our thing. But it's the media who are now operating like fans, which is the problem, in my opinion. They're the ones supposed to be doing fors and against, balanced, unbiased reviews and opinions and coverage, and giving us things that we may never have thought about because they've got access to the teams, to the clubs, to the players. But they're also just feeding into, oh, the fans aren't like this. Oh, let's jump on it too. Oh, 007. Oh, he's a flop already. This manager is the greatest manager since Fergie when it's been 10 games. Like, they're feeding into that as well. I think that's where the problem lies in this. It's
I agree. No, I agree. I agree. And Twisted Bubba here says, KJ, you are the media.
I am not the media. We are not the media. We're not professional journalists. We didn't go to uni to study journalism.
Well, even then, the difference between, I know that they're trying to do a little bit now with their fan analysis stuff, but even then, it's still like, again, the fact that you get to sit here and say this, Twisted Bubba, proves they're not the media. Can you imagine the actual media letting its viewers comment live when it's doing things and interact with them and actually challenge what they're saying and phone into shows, and there's no filter, there's no dump button as an example. But there we go. But yeah, look, I think Liverpool will be okay. Look, people, we've got a really busy week on the Football Terrace. We've got Killing the Game episode this afternoon. We have the top six, not the top six, six-sided tonight at 6 p.m. So make sure you're here with us for that show. Plus tomorrow we'll have Straight Facts. There is going to be Champions League match reactions all week as well. So exciting times ahead. Please make sure you go and check out my personal channel, Terry Flewers TV. You can scan the QR code on the screen. You can check it out on the homepage here on the Terrace, or just search Terry Flewers. I've started my new FIFA career mode on there as well, if you guys want to go and check that out from last night. But I upload a lot of opinion pieces on that channel, so it'd be great to see as many. Some of you that watch here regularly watched last night, so I didn't know you had this channel. So go and get subscribed now to Terry Flewers TV. Until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. Oh, by the way, this is redirecting you to Hassam's channel, so go and support my brother over there. Take care. Goodbye. God bless, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.